Hello, everybody, and welcome to my first ever Phyrexia All Will Be One draft video. In this video, I'll be going pick by pick and play by play, talking through everything so you know what to do in your own drafts. And shout out to Wizards of the Coast for giving me a free preview account so I can get drafting this set and making videos for you early. We have opened up a fantastic rare in White Sun's Twilight. It's a board wipe that leaves you with a commanding board presence. So you can cast this, and you really do want to cast it for X's 5 or more. You destroy all other creatures, and you create a bunch of 1/1 mites. So you don't want to just be casting this to make three mites, but you want to be killing everything that they have on the board. So this card is absolutely fantastic. But if this wasn't in the pack, what would I be taking? Looking at the commons, I think that Volt Charge is a fantastic common. 3 mana, deal 3 with Proliferate is absolutely fantastic, and a great red common. I think the best red common, so definitely a high priority and probably the best common in this pack. Even though I think Lattice Blade Mantis is pretty good in green decks, not as good as Volt Charge, just a big attacker. Charge of the Mites can do some good work as well in white decks, but again, not as good as Volt Charge. Hex Gold Slash, probably the second best red common, just a very efficient removal spell as well. And an uncommon Paladin of Predation is very good for toxic decks, because Toxic 6 is huge. But yeah, we're going to take White Sun's Twilight here. And if you enjoy this sort of analysis and you want to get ready for your own drafts, you can check out my draft guide for the set already posted on my channel. I go through top commons, archetype guides, and things like that to get you ready. So this is like gameplay and my in-game decisions, and that's like an overview type video that you'll be looking for to get ready for your drafts. Okay, so we have White Sun's Twilight, and this kind of wants you to be in a toxic deck. It doesn't have to be, because it can still just be a great card in any white deck, but white-green and white-black care about toxic. White-red is more of an equipment-focused deck, and white-blue is more of an artifact-focused deck. So getting 5 mites can be good for the artifact deck, because it's 5 artifacts. Complete Devotion is a nice combat trick, but not quite as powerful as something like a Flensing Raptor, which is really good in the white decks that want to be focused on toxic. The rare is a card that cares about multicolored, not really supported in this set. Vat Emergence is okay, but not the best. I think Annihilating Glare might just be the best option in this pack. It's very, very strong. It's a great removal spell, and even though I have this white card that kind of wants me to take a card like Flensing Raptor might not be the best fit. And so I'm just going to take the Annihilating Glare as a card, because I think white-black could also be a fine home to end up in. And the cards that really care about toxic don't necessarily play well with the cards that don't care about toxic. So Flensing Raptor is not always the best pick. Cephalopod Sentry plays well with a bunch of artifacts, and as I said, White Sun's Twilight does make artifacts for your artifact synergies, so that's worth keeping in mind. The rare, not particularly playable, not something you'll be very interested in. Incubation Sac can do good stuff. Not really what white-green is trying to do. And I'm phrasing everything in the context of me playing white, because I have such a strong card that draws me towards it. Cephalopod Sentry can do good work. The Skull Bomb is okay. This card's not my favorite. So overall, a bit of a weak pack. Could be a time to speculate on something. I think Cephalopod Sentry, if I do end up in white-blue, could be nice. And as I said, this does make a bunch of artifacts to fuel potential artifact synergies. For example, if you play White Sun's Twilight and then follow it up with a Cephalopod Sentry, you have a 6/5 flyer for 4 mana. So that's the sort of thing to keep in mind. Okay, now there's a Porcelain Zealot, another card that cares about being in a toxic deck. There's also Duelist of Deep Faith, a card that cares about being in a bit of a toxic deck. And then there is Malcator's Watcher as a nice blue artifact. And I am going to bias towards the white cards because I already have the Twilight, as I said. So even though Malcator's Watcher goes like probably better with the Cephalopod Sentry, biasing towards one of these white cards is pretty nice. And then there's another Annihilating Glare, which does play well with kind of the Mite token generation. And I do want to try and make it so that if I have to cast this for like X equals 3, then it can still be a reasonable card in my deck. Duelist of Deep Faith seems like a nice option here. I'm not sure how toxic I want to be, and even if I don't need to be like full in on toxic, this can be nice for enabling Corrupted if I end up in white-black. I think Annihilating Glare is also fine, but I do want to keep taking white cards when I can, and I think getting a good 2-drop is nice. Okay, so it's looking like black might be a little bit open. We've been seeing consistently the black land. I think these lands are pretty good, by the way. Just the ability to sacrifice them to draw a card. So black is looking relatively open. Stinging Hive Master is a pretty reasonable card. Feed the Infection can be pretty nice, especially if you have sort of more aggressive elements where you are on the front foot and you don't really care about losing the life as much. And then Vraska's Fall is like not my favorite card. I think it's actually quite poor, but it's another black card. So I think Stinging Hive Master and Feed the Infection are nice. And then we're seeing some good blue cards. Surgical Bay is nice. I think we'll take Feed the Infection. We have been seeing some like Annihilating Glares, and I think Feed the Infection's a card I want to try. I think Hive Master's reasonable, but this is just the sort of card for like a white-black control deck. This could be the perfect tool in the arsenal. And now we can get another Duelist of Deep Faith. One of the nice things about black-white as a deck is it doesn't need to win with Toxic, and so even though you can win, like you try to get them to 3 poison, and then a lot of your cards get better. So like Feed the Infection has Corrupted, which is a mechanic in this set that rewards you for if you can get your opponent to 3 poison counters. So a Duelist of Deep Faith, you play it on the early turns, hit him a few times, and then you don't necessarily finish the game with poison. But White Sun's Twilight can still, if you make like 5 mites, those mites can swing in and end the game still. So pretty nice little combination. This makes you able to get other mirrors. I think playing white-black is a fine place to be at right now. We'll keep our options a little bit flexible, but Duress not really particularly playable. We have still been seeing some blue. We could still go that direction. This is not an artifact, unfortunately. This isn't really the sort of creature we're looking for, even though it is white. Watchful Blister Zoa, just a nice control finisher for like a white-blue deck. So we kind of have the option of going black, white, or blue-white. We have been seeing, I guess, a little bit of green here for like an oils aggressive deck, but I think that Blister Zoa is the best card in this pack. Duress is a bit of a trap because you can whiff and it's a terrible top deck, which is both things that are not great and make it not as good and limited as it maybe would be in Constructed. Okay, there's a big green creature that we don't want. This card's pretty good as a combat trick because you have until the end of your next turn, so it's going to be able to get you a card a lot of the time. This is just like a top-end card for maybe a control deck. I don't know how much Proliferate there would be in a black-white deck, but we could get some, which makes that card maybe usable. I don't think we care about a 6-mana 5/5 Death Touch. And then Surgical Bay is pretty nice as well. But I think we'll take a chance on the Scheming Aspirant. And seeing this card pretty late is definitely worth noting. Ribskiff could be okay. It's a 4-mana card that can replace itself and potentially help enable some toxic stuff. This card getting itself is kind of neat. We'll take the Ribskiff, though. It's also an artifact for the artifact deck we might be building. Vat Emergence is neat, because you can target a creature in your opponent's graveyard, which is worth noting. Complete Devotion. We don't have enough toxic to make this insane, though we do have the 2 duelists. There's also this guy. I think we'll take the Vat Emergence, though. Definitely a card that's I want to try out, especially because I'm curious how the Proliferate will work with it. There's Vanish into Eternity. Not my favorite card. Offer Immortality seems a little bit better. Just because 6 mana to kill a permanent is not very good. We're seeing a lot of black cards. So like white I don't think was open, but we have such a good white card that I think we can manage to draft a white deck anyway. Like blue-black is looking way more open. And if we open a good blue or black rare, we can maybe just makes the switch. Unfortunately, despite opening a black rare, it's not a very good one. Chiromonyx, just, even though it's a 3/3 with Toxic 1, essentially, buffs up very few cards. There's like 1 rat in the set at common or something. And you can like maybe do something, but it's not the best. There is Infested Flesh Cutter, which is actually really nice as just a general card. Like, it's hard to use because the equip is so high and it's not really great on defense, but it's pretty scary on offense. There's also Anoint with Affliction, which is definitely a card I'm considering here as a very good removal spell. I do have an Annihilating Glare, but I don't really have removal aside from that, and my deck is pretty controlling. It is a bit of a downside that this exiles when Vat Emergence could let me get the creature back. There's also this guy, which I don't really want to play. There's Duelist, Incisor Glider, another nice card. I think I'll take the Anoint with Affliction over the Infested Flesh Cutter. This card's just a little bit clunky to use. 3 to equip is pretty high, and so I'd rather just get the black card. Here I'm hoping to get past a lot of black cards, because black seems to be the color I'm most likely to play. Like, if you just look at my color distribution, I have 1 white card that I'm not playing, because I'm not playing white-blue probably. I'm playing black for sure. So I don't think I'm playing that. So it's either blue-black with some like Proliferate stuff, or white. But the fact that I have this White Sun's Twilight is really a point in favor of white. And here's the rat I was talking about, the Blight Belly rat. I'll hover it for now. It's probably the best black card in this pack. Toxic 2 is nice, but I think that's more important to get 2 drops. There's also this card, which is really good in green. And the best white card in the pack is just probably this Fair Basilica as a way to avoid flooding. Though flood insurance is less relevant when you have a big X spell that you want to cast, because if I ever top deck, this will be kind of unfortunate. There's also Mesmerizing Dose, which I like, but I'd rather just keep taking black cards. Wait a little bit longer to decide my final color scheme. Here, there's a ton of red cards, which is a little bit surprising because I don't remember seeing a ton of great red cards. Like, I didn't see any Hex Gold Slashes pack 1. I wasn't seeing like Char Forgers, but we're seeing a lot of red cards here. Actually, it kind of makes sense that you would see red in pack 2. I think I said conflicting things. If I'm seeing a lot of red here, it's probably because I wasn't seeing red pack 1. So the person passing to me might be in red. This card's the best card here, I think, over the Hex Gold Slash, probably. Not really in need of any of these other cards. Forge, not my favorite. I'll just take the Char Forger. Probably not even consider playing it, though. Okay, and now there is a Mesmerizing Dose. There's also a Terramorphic Expanse. The white card, I'm not a huge fan of. Crawling Chorus. Contagious Vorak is fantastic, but I'm not even close to playing green. Not really close to playing this card. This is a blue-red. So it's between Mesmerizing Dose and just a Terramorphic Expanse. I think I'll just take the Terramorphic Expanse, make my mana a little bit better. More consistent. Maybe help me play more black sources. Okay. There's a Malcator's Watcher. There's also a Bring the Ending, both of which are reasonable blue cards. I am still hoping to play black-white, though, I have to say. Just feels like it'll work out nicely. I have some good Toxic Enablers on turn 2. And just, like, I really want to play the White Sun's Twilight. Like, when you have a card that's going to win you the game a lot of the time when you play it, it's worth playing a lot of the time. Bring the Ending or Malcator's. I'll take Malcator's. I think Malcator's is pretty good. This card's great. And there's also a Blightbelly Rat. Perfect. Rat is nice. Hive Master is also reasonable, but you'd rather have 2 drops than 3 drops. And Dying into Proliferation is pretty good, even though I don't have a ton of Proliferate right now. Being able to proliferate my opponent's poison up a little bit could be useful. So I think it's between these 2 cards mostly. I know that I'm playing black. My second color is still a little up in the air. A second Watchful Blister's O is nice. Giving anything toxic, not as relevant for me. But yeah, so let's just take stock of our deck a little bit. We have 3 white cards. We haven't seen a good white card in forever. We have a lot of, like, 4 blue cards, and then the rest are just good black cards. We have good removal spells. We have some good 2-drops for black, though the Aspirant's a little bit worse. Still decent with the Rat and some of our other Proliferate. We don't really have any cards that really care about us getting... Ooh, Charge of the Mites is really nice. Getting to huge toxic numbers. I like Cutthroat Centurion, but I think it's rather better to take this white card here. It's funny because white's clearly not open and I'm still drafting it, but black is open enough that I can make up the difference and get like a white card here and there, which is still going to work out, I think. Ooh, Incisor Glider could be really good in this deck. Because if I get my opponent to 3 poison, I just buff all of my creatures, and I have a lot of creatures, I think. It says 9 creatures, but this like makes creatures, this makes creatures. Yeah. And I'm glad I have this Terramorphic Expanse to make things a little bit easier on myself. Okay, we get the white land. That's nice. Seeing that wheel is good. Enters or dies proliferate. I can redo an enters the battlefield effect. Don't really have any great ETBs. This one's a decent one, but yeah, I'm just going to take the white land. And now I'll just cruise into pack 3, hopefully playing white-black. Like, I've got enough. 3 good 2-drops is also a nice upside for this deck. Wow. I don't mind passing red cards, because I think the person passing to me in pack 3 is going to be playing red. So just helping them get into red is nice. Sure, we'll take Vanish. Okay, pack 3. Let's see what we get. Big money, Planeswalker. Not very good, though. Okay. Played an Onslaught, buffing all of my creatures. Again, I have 10 creatures, but Charge of the Mites makes a couple. This can make some. There's Flensing Raptor, which does play well with a lot of my 2-drops. So at this point, Flensing Raptor is looking pretty good. In pack 1, when I took... what did I take over the Flensing Raptor? It was some random blue card, maybe... No, it was... What did I take over at pack 1? I'm not quite sure. But this card's really nice here now because I do have so many 2-drops with Toxic, so this will help them connect. And then I'll probably wield a Fair Basilica based on the way pack 1 went. So I'm happy to take the Flensing Raptor here. This is an equipment payoff that in red-white. Sinew Dancer can be pretty good if you enable it. And that is definitely something I could consider. Fleshless Gladiator is also reasonable as a 2-drop that keeps coming back once I get Toxic. And the Atlas could be helpful if I wanted to splash, but I don't really want to. I do have the Expanse, and if I had this, I'd have like 3 free sources almost, or 3 relatively easy sources to use. But all my blue cards are double pipped, and I'm not splashing Malcator's Watcher. So I think I take Sinew Dancer here as a nice little interactive spell. And now there's another Incisor Glider. That's just a really good card in this deck, I think. There's also Testament Bearer, which I do like, because it dies into a pretty good effect. But I'm just pretty low to the ground. I think I'm going to cut the blue cards now, so I can get a better idea of what I'm working with. And I could even then be better at playing this as just like make a bunch of guys. Let's take the Incisor Glider. Wow, nice pickup here. Nimrazor Paladin. Got some Toxic, returns a creature. I have a lot of creatures that can return. Returning a Duelist is especially good. So I love the Nimrazor Paladin here. There's also a Bone Picker Scourge, which is great in this sort of deck, because once I enable Corrupted, Death Touch and Lifelink is really nice. Though I will say Lifelink is a little bit worse in this set, because some decks are attacking you on the poison axis, and Lifelink doesn't help with that. It's not that by gaining life you can like fix poison or something. But pretty easy Nimrazor Paladin here. And I think this deck is pretty good. I'm trying to remember still what I took over the Flensing Raptor in pack 1. Oh my gosh. Apostle of Invasion is awesome, I think. That's my suspicion. It's between Apostle here and Charge of the Mites. My deck might be low to the ground enough that Charge of the Mites is better, especially considering I have double Incisor Glider. And the fact that the Mites play well with themselves. Let's just take the Charge of the Mites so we can build a more focused deck. Incisor Glider number 3 makes me very happy I decided to do that. Because buffing up all of my Mites to 2/2s, or even 3/3s, if I'm attacking with multiple of these, is pretty good. What did I take over Flensing Raptor in pack 1? I'm sure somebody can point it out in the comments. Maybe I took Feed the Infection or something. Wow, I am just going all in on these Incisor Gliders, and I think it's going to work out. I'm really excited to see how this plays out. Because buffing all of my creatures is really good. Because they stack with each other too, as well. Complete Devotion is a nice combat trick. But I think I'd rather just keep getting these Incisor Gliders. They're so valuable in my deck. Okay, Whisper of the Dross is a card I've really wanted to try. I don't really have stuff to proliferate other than oil, though. I mean, not oil. Other than Toxic counters. So maybe Sinew Dancer's better. I'm going to try Sinew Dancer, I think. Okay, I get another Fair Basilica. There's also Cruel Grimnarch. And Necrogen Communion. When it dies, return to the battlefield. I don't really have any huge things that I want to return. So I'll just take the land, make my mana better. Okay, I guess I'll just take this so nobody else can get it. Similar vibe with just random cards here. But I think this deck is really good. This is currently 23 playables, including the 2 lands, the 3 lands, I mean. And I think it's pretty good. I'm quite happy with how this turned out, I think. So let's just build it real quick. See if there's any cards in my sideboard that I want to include. And if you do remember when I took the took over the Flensing Raptor in pack 1, I think it was something like, oh, maybe Cephalopod Sentry. It wasn't any of these random blue cards, I'll tell you that much. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so this is a 8-8 split in terms of colors. How's my colors? Pretty even. Nice. This is a great card in the deck because I can just play it to make 3 mites or something on turn 5, which could be good. But if I play it as a 7-drop, I just win. Vat is decent. If I kill something, I can get it back onto my side and proliferate something, or bring back one of my creatures. This card's actually great in my deck because I care about both aspects of it. This card's great with any of the stuff I make. How much proliferate do I have? I have 1, 2, 3. Not really enough proliferate to make me want Scheming Aspirant. So what would I rather have? Probably this, honestly. Just a way to buff up my creature seems reasonable. Vanish into Eternity is also an option. How many creatures do I end up with? 13. This seems good. Because I do have a lot of ways to make creatures good. So yeah, this is going to be the deck. I think Vat Emergence is a little bit weak here, but you can't always have the perfect card. And I hope you enjoy the draft portion. I'll see you in the games. If you've been enjoying my channel, you can support it at patreon.com/NicolaiBolas. Patrons gain access to exclusive bonus content like my draft tier list for Phyrexia All Will Be One, where I grade every card in the set on an A through F scale and compile it into a handy dandy spreadsheet. I'd like to give a special shout out to the patrons who support at the credits level, and if you have been enjoying my content and would like to help the channel, you can do so at Patreon. Thank you to all of my patrons, and without further ado, let's get to the games. Welcome to round number 1. We have a great hand here. We have 2-drop, 3-drop, proliferate, some nice lands in case we start to flood. We're going to keep this hand. Also, I looked it up and I took the removal spell over Flensing Raptor, which I'm really happy I did. I'm going to start by playing Terramorphic Expanse because it'll thin my deck a little bit, and I'm not going to need to sacrifice this for a while. And then I'll start by playing the Duelist over the Rat because Duelist has first strike on my turn, so it'll hit harder. So we're going to get a Swamp here. I'm glad that it defaulted to me having the Phyrexia lands. Okay, we're going to go to combat first. Nice. I wonder how it'll show poison. Perfect. I like how visually this shows the poison. And then I think I might play Blightbelly Rat and then play this tap land so I can have the option of using this as a kill spell. But actually, I'll be able to kill whatever they play with this thing. So maybe I just want to play Charge of the Mites to make 1/1s. And then I can anoint with Affliction anything that they play. I actually like that plan a lot. Perfect. So I will anoint with Affliction. Kill that. And now I have Corrupted enabled, which is actually going to be huge for my other cards. This thing coming into tapped is a big downside here, because I would be able to deploy another Duelist or another Brat. But if this game goes long, then I'll be happy to have a land I can sacrifice, because my curve doesn't really go that high. So we're going to keep an eye on that to see how much relevance that would have been. Okay, very good draw there. I'm going to attack for this with just this guy, because if they do decide to block, they will only kill a Mite, which is what would happen anyway. The reason I didn't want to attack with a Mite is that way I would lose both Mites. And this way I get to play the Glider and play the Duelist, and now I get to attack with the Mite as a bigger creature, so this thing wouldn't be able to do as much. And here Incisor Glider is absolutely insane, and I am really, really happy to see it. Next turn I can either refuel, because here I'm attacking them on the poison axis and the normal axis. I think generally I'll probably win with normal damage because of my Incisor Gliders buffing up my creatures. Like next turn, if they have no blockers, I'll deal 3, 6, 8, 10 damage to them, and I'll only deal 3 poison. So they'll be at 4 life and 7 poison. Okay, them killing that doesn't make any sense to me. Mostly because I hit them for so much more regular damage. Maybe they're worried about poison. I'm going to play the rat because I feel like I'll have enough to do. And then I'm actually going to sacrifice this land on their end step. So having the extra creature in play would have done more damage. So, but that's not to say that this card's not being useful here. Okay, they concede, but without even needing to see the feed the infection. Excellent stuff. Wow, this is a cool looking, like, post-game thing. I'll see you folks next round. Welcome to round number 2. We have a great hand here. Again, 2-drops, galore, and the Charge of the Mites. I think I am going to lead with the Blightbelly Rat over the Glider, because it hits for more damage and can start getting that poison going. Being on the play is huge here. Wow, not having a blocker on the draw in this format feels like a death sentence. Against my deck, at least. Here, I'm actually going to take a more conservative play. I'm going to play the Duelist of Deep Faith, because I want to be able to clear the way to get Corrupted enabled, and the Mites won't do much if my opponent has a blocker here. Like, if they played like a 2-3 or a 1-3 or something, oh my gosh, are they just dead? I assume they have something here. What? Okay, you have to be more proactive than this. You can't take the turns off. That's what I'm seeing here. Because look how absurd my board state is now. Like, I'm going to hit them for so much damage next turn. Incisor Glider might just be like... Like, when I was rating Incisor Glider, first of all, the first thing I thought was not every deck wants it, which is one of the major knocks I had against it. But look how insane this is going to be. I'm going to hit them. I'm going to kill their guy, first of all. Like, this is their first play of the game, and they're just already dead. I think I just killed them, maybe. 4. Oh my gosh. I just killed my opponent on turn 5. What just happened? Oh my gosh. They're dead. Like, it's not even that they conceded. I just straight up killed them. This thing hit them, essentially, if you include all the buffing. It was like a 1-powered creature, and then it added 4 power. So it hit them for 5. Oh my gosh, that was insane. I'll see you next round. Welcome to round 3. I'm actually excited to see how this deck plays out on the draw, because maybe it's the sort of deck that's insane on the play, but not as good on the draw. I'm going to keep this hand, though. It's got a good interactive spell to make sure I don't die like my opponent did last round. And it's got some way to refuel and... Incisor Glider. So back to the topic of Incisor Glider, because I do want to mention this. I think that the reason I didn't rate this as like one of the top white commons is because it has a much narrower band of decks it's good in. White-red doesn't really ever enable Toxic because it doesn't really need to... It doesn't really have Toxic cards in red. I'll get a Swamp here. And then I'm actually not going to... I'm going to play the Incisor Glider. That still makes sense. I was considering just holding up this guy so I could kill their 3-drop, but I don't have a good follow-up to that, so I can just kill their 3-drop next turn and hit them for 1. But this card doesn't have as much of a home. I think white-black is the best home for this deck, because white-green kind of tries to win with poison, is my suspicion. And so I think that's maybe the reason I was able to get these kind of later. So they can get a land, or they can proliferate. They're playing 3 colors, which is interesting. And I can deploy my tap land next turn with no harm. Okay, they got a land. Perfect. I'll kill their 3/3. And this is definitely a weakness of the Glider. Like, some games you'll win on turn 5, and some games you'll just have to play the slow game. And I'm really happy I have the Fair Basilica now, because remember that one game where I did get a little bit punished because it came into play tapped? But here, I have 6 lands. My deck never really needs that many. I hope they spend their turn killing this and not deploying to the board. Huge. Okay, that's a much better plan than what I was going to do, which was this thing. So remember, you generally want to play your land first so you represent more options, but then you want to attack before you do anything else. Okay, so they do not have the counterspell here. Okay. Hopefully I can crew this up next turn, like I draw a creature that helps me with that. because Toxic 2 is nice. I'm not sure. I don't think this card is great. Sure, it'll ramp them a little bit, but it doesn't fix their mana. Okay. I guess it synergizes with that guy. Well, that was an incredible draw. I'm really glad I decided to include this card. So I can crew this up. And then I can get in and get some poison rolling. Hopefully when I enable this card, it'll work out really nicely. So they have a lot of value going on right now. Getting a couple Toxic is really nice. I do have some Proliferate stuff. And this thing should work really well with this guy, because they'll want to block it next turn, and I'll be able to give it Death Touch when they double block it. Is the hope. And this land, I'll be able to sacrifice it later. Again, I think white-black is get them to 3 poison and then win with regular damage, and so far that plan's working really well. Also, this equipment's really nice right now. Okay, nice. They're getting some good value here. I might be able to decimate them, though, with my combat trick, depending on how they block. Oh, they have the fight spell. That's unfortunate for me. This costs 4 to equip. Actually, this could work out for me. They're trying to decide what to kill, whether to kill my glider or my other guy. Oh. Oh, interesting. This actually works out perfectly for me, because now if they want to double block this, which I suspect they do, I get to completely wreck them. They might also just decide to hit me for 6. But I think they're going to try to deny me getting to the threshold for Toxic, because this is a good trade. And I get to absolutely destroy them. Death Touch Indestructible when they double block. And then I am going to play this post-combat, refuel my hand, even though I don't have Toxic enabled. Still really good. Oh, yeah, I don't have Toxic enabled. Oh, it shows. Wow, it has like the 2 out of 3 on the corrupted count. That's really nice UI. I actually really like that. Evolving Adaptive, the official NicolaiBolas preview card. My first time seeing it in play. Let's hope we beat it. The classic. Okay, okay. Whenever they proliferate. They have this. So I do have quite a few lands here, but I drew a couple of like removal spells, which is nice. Charging 4x. So they're going to proliferate. And I should be able to tap down that guy coming up soon. Okay, so I'll play this land to start. Then I'll play this. Then I will play this. Because I want to have enough creatures to kill the Evolving Adaptive. Then I will crew this with this. Then I will... Wait, does this tap only for colorless? It does. Then I will kill that guy before he becomes too much of a problem when this guy grows him. Then I'll attack them to try and get their last 2 things in. Oh, and they just let it block like that. And now I have this thing as a tapper. Not the perfect tapper yet. But if I draw like a proliferate spell or something like that, it could be really good. And I have this thing which I can equip around. And tapping things is still good, even though it costs a lot, because I have a lot of extra mana right now. Okay, draw 3 cards and proliferate, so they get their guy back. So it's basically a draw 4 for them. That's really good. That's really frustrating. That was really, really a tough card to see from their side. Keep in mind, though, if I ever draw my board wipe, then I just win. Because I'll just make like 8 1/1s, kill everything on the board. And it'll be GG. This costs 4 to equip, so I'll have enough mana to go crew this, equip the equipment to it, and then attack. They have this thing they can sacrifice. They have 8 lands. I'm going to have 8 lands. I'm not actually that far behind in cards because I did trade my like combat trick that cost 2 mana for 2 of their 5 drops, which is insane. Okay. That's a nice draw. That's really good. I'm not going to use it right now, though. Maybe I will, because I can tap this thing down. Yeah, that's actually really good. And I'll hold back my 1/3 to block their guy. So they can't get any poison on me, because it looks like they have a lot of proliferate going on. Perfect. And now this thing can tap stuff for 1 mana. I can sacrifice my land to draw a card. Sure. What are they going to cast? Oh, they just added an oil. Okay. So they have 4 cards. I have 1. My board state is superior to theirs because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, and they have 3. So if you think about it, we're about even in cards. Okay, that card's really useless for them right now. Also, I just turned on Corrupted, which makes all of my cards much better. Okay. So they get to proliferate. Okay. So they single-handedly enabled this already. Perfect. Interesting, interesting. But I can make this into a big flyer. So the first thing I'm going to do is sacrifice so I can learn more about what's on top. That'll be good, because it'll be able to gain first strike and be 4 power. So that's really nice. Play my land. I think I equip here. Or power this up, because I'm happy to trade it with one of their 3/3s at this moment. But it's actually better if I make it a 6-powered creature. With Vigilance. Or this being Vigilance is nice too. So if they double block here with their 2 3/3s, I can kill their 3/3 unblockable. Or I can just hit them for 4 that they can't really block. I think I'll just go for this, because this will deal more damage overall right now. And if I trade this thing off, then it is just pretty reasonable for me. Or if I get rid of their cultivator or something. Perfect. So they do have a way to get that thing back. So they were going to block this thing regardless as well. Okay. So they have a way to proliferate in their hand, presumably. So this equipment I can pretty much put it wherever I want. Probably onto this guy if they don't draw another flyer, because a 4/3 first strike attacker is pretty hard to deal with, though they can actually just double block it. So I'll probably just end up doing the same thing where I suit up this guy. But if they don't replay their flyer, I can hit them for 2 in the air. I'm mildly surprised they didn't want to trade a 3/3 for this, because if they were planning on chumping with this guy, then doing this block just makes sense. Okay, so they kill that. I'm also surprised they decided to kill that one instead of my equipment, which is really what's making my attacks scary. Oh, its mana value was 4 or more, so they don't actually get to get their guy back. Okay. Certainly interesting. They can kill my equipment now. This is where I would love a big draw. This card definitely puts a wrench into things. They should definitely sacrifice here. I'm definitely not favored at this point in the game. Mostly because they probably have more late game cards than me. And I don't use these lands very well. But to be fair, I also will say that most games I'm not going to draw 12 of my lands. Because 3, 6, 9, 12. Because I've drawn 12 lands, they've drawn 4, 8. I think they sacrificed 1, 2. Nope, it's just 12 to 8. And I'm still in contention. And that's totally fine. That happens sometimes. But I only have 5 lands left in my entire deck. Which, by the way, I need to change my sleeves because these are Brothers War sleeves. So they now have 6 lands in play. They sacrificed a couple. So they've drawn 9 lands and I've drawn 12. So, and I can still just win the game if I draw my big X spell. Because now just imagine how good that would be. And I have decent odds of doing it. Also, my Glider, which gives all my guys +1/+1, would be amazing. This card's great here. Again, attack first. Because my plan is to win with damage. I mean, I'm on a 4-turn clock, but I have plenty of stuff that I can do. And this thing can attack as a 4/4, essentially. Incisor Glider would be really good here, because all of a sudden my 2/2s could attack past this Vorak. And the real thing that's keeping me back, I'm on a 4-turn clock from this. This thing's going to kill me in 4 turns if I don't deal with it. I've already used most of my removal, which is the Anoint, my Tapper guy, and a charge. I still have 1 more charge with the Mites. But I think Incisor Glider is really what would push me over the top, because all of a sudden I would kill them in like 2 hits. Okay. That's more scary for the fact that I have no way of blocking it in a million years. Yeah. I'm just dead. I have 1 draw. And I'll play to my outs, of course. I almost killed them with poison this game, which wasn't the original plan, but almost worked out. But my only out now is drawing my rare, which I have 1 in 15 odds. Not the best odds, but not the worst. Better than 5%. You can think of it like 1 in 20 is 5%, 1 in 10 is 10%, and so probably around 7.5% to win the game. I will sacrifice this guy. And I'm actually only 1 poison off at the end of the day. So if I draw a Proliferate card, I can also win. Because I go to exactly 1 here. Unless they have a combat trick, which they probably do. Or if they have Proliferate. No, they don't Proliferate doesn't matter. No, I don't go to exactly 1. I absorb 6. I absorb 4 points of damage, so... Oh, they're going to give it plus X, where X is a million. That's fair. Yep, that's how it goes. Yep, I just didn't draw enough of the action that I needed early in the game, but you can't win them all. And I think that my deck definitely could have won on the draw, but I just had a weak draw. I'll see you folks next round. Welcome to round 4. One thing I do want to emphasize is that even though I lost that last round, I won my first 2 rounds in about 5 minutes combined. So we're going to keep this hand. And definitely get a plains here so I can potentially double spell with these on turn 4. Oh, my sleeve didn't change. Well, I tried to change it. I changed the default, I guess. So they're playing blue. We're going to get a plains here. And like just because the losses take longer than the wins does not mean the deck is any worse. So Incisor Glider not looking as good here. We definitely like having toxic cards on turn 2. That's when they shine. Because the longer the game goes, the more stally it gets and the harder it gets to enable your toxic to get corrupted. Here, I normally would try to save this as a removal spell, but I need to get some toxic creatures down. So I'll just pass and make 2 1/1s. Okay. Even though they can kind of kill the 1/1s with this thing bouncing 1. I think it'll be worth it. And then if I draw a land, I can double spell with these guys. So it's just more mana efficient as well. Okay, sure. Definitely still making the 1/1s. I'll get at least 1 toxic counter onto them. Perfect. They can block a Might. Though them trading a card for essentially half of my card, they do replace itself. Wow, they just take the 2 poison. So now if I draw like almost anything, I'm in business. 1 more poison counter. So any proliferate gets me there, and then my attack next turn is absurd. Okay.
You ready, Pom-Pom-Chan? Time to put our skills to the test. All right, little buddy. Let's clean up this mess.
So I can kill their Kaito. These 2 are definitely going at them. These 2 are going at Kaito to make sure I kill him, and this one's going at them as well. Yep, they don't want to get toxic all the way.
I'll find another way in.
Maybe it was worth keeping a Might around instead of dealing 1 more point of damage to them. Like, don't attack with the Might, send 2 at Kaito, send 1 at their head. I think that would have been better. I'm realizing. This is going to be good. That Skull Bomb is a problem for me because they'll bounce something with this, and then I'll have to like waste a turn replaying it. Wow, that's pretty good. No blocks. What are they going to bounce? That's the question. This is just another unfortunate case of me not drawing my 5th land to jam my 5 mana spells, I think. I don't actually have a creature in the graveyard to get back with this Mim Razor, so when one of my guys dies this turn, I'll be able to do that. I definitely botched the attack with my mites. I should have sent 2 at Kaido with my flyers, kept the mites back. And then I'd have a much better board. They'd have a 1/1 vigilance, but it wouldn't matter. Okay. Mm-hmm. I take 4, go to 7, lose 2 more, go to 6. Sure. That was just unlucky. Wait, this thing has Death Touch? Oh. Oh, well, that was bad. Yeah. Reading the card explains the card. I wasn't going to win this game anyway. But, yeah, nothing has Death Touch. Well, that's why I do it, so that you don't have to. I'm sure somebody was screaming at the computer. I could have triple blocked this thing, taken 3, but I was really going to struggle to kill that 3/3. And sure, I would play this to the next turn, but they can just attack everything and win, so it wasn't going to make a huge difference. I'll see you next round. Welcome to another round. Another keepable hand. Again, not having a 2-drop with Toxic really makes this deck significantly worse. So, like, the rounds that we were crushing people, we always had a 2-drop with Toxic, which I think is a reasonable expectation in our deck, because I think half of our 2-drops are Incisor Gliders, and half of them have Toxic. Because we have 2 of the First Striker and 2 of the Rats. And our deck looks noticeably better when we start off with one of the Rats and 2-drops, but it just so happened that we haven't been drawing them on turn 2. So that's just something to keep in mind. For the deck when you're drafting it yourself. Incisor Glider looks significantly worse without Corrupted, so I think that's why it's nice to play more than just one round, because in the first 2 rounds, it was like, oh my gosh, Incisor Glider's insane. It's always on, it buffs my entire team, this is absurd. And now, over the next couple of rounds, we've seen like games where I play the Incisor Gliders on turn 2, try to get some Might tokens to get Toxic enabled instead of like having Toxic already enabled, and it's a significant difference. Ribskiff has been pretty reasonable. And if you don't get corrupted early, it feels very hard to push through and get corrupted later. Okay. Definitely not attacking. They don't want them to get corrupted. This is why I think Vraska's Fall is bad, because if they ever sacrifice like a Might token, they spent 3 mana and killed one of my 1/1s. Okay. Again, we just want to keep them from enabling Corrupted for as long as possible. And we want to enable Corrupted as soon as possible. Okay, let's see what combat trick they have. Sure. If I draw a land to play Nimrazer Paladin, this game is over. Calling it now. Okay, complete punish on this guy, and we have learned, I guess, to some degree that that's really not ideal. But there was games, like that one game where we drew 12 lands where it was really good. But if I'd played Nimrazer, gotten back my Incisor Glider, crewed this thing up, hit them, gotten Toxic enabled, it was over. They already used Complete Devotion. Mm-hmm. I'm doing this now because, sure, I'm going to be able to get some good value later, but I don't want to let the Blightbelly Rat hit me because I just don't want to get corrupted. And also, I can't see a turn sequence in the next few turns where I have time to play off for Immortality, and I don't want to fall behind while I'm waiting. Like, I want to play Nimrazer, crew this thing, hit them. Then the next turn, probably play Vat of Emergence to get back this guy or something like that. So now they're toxic. I'm not toxic. This card does nothing in their deck because it doesn't contribute to my poison count. So all I care about is this third poison right now. And this thing can tap them easily. This thing's great. This thing's great. This thing's great. Because this thing can get back Nimrazer, which can get back something else. So if Nimrazer ever dies, I'm in great shape. Next turn, I can play Sinew Dancer and Incisor Glider. And tap something with my Sinew Dancer. Crew up this thing. Hit them for 8. And then I'll have 2 tappers. I hope they don't kill Nimrazer before something else I have that I control dies. Because all I care about this 3, and then I care about their life total. So I'm in pretty good shape here. I have a lot of good options. Lots of good options. I think we kind of decimated them with our Vraska's Fall. Oh, okay. Sure. Interesting. So they're going to be losing life like crazy. Okay, well that's definitely an easy call on this. Create 2 mites. Play Incisor Glider. Crew with this, this, and this. And charge. Like, we don't care about the poison as much. We have them at 3 poison, which I guess could be relevant, but we're mostly concerned about they're going to die soon. Tap something, hit them for 1 billion. That's our next turn. Sure. Oh, this can return lands. This might be their only chance to return Phyrexia Arena. Just saying. Boom! Got the win. I love to secure at least a 50% win rate with my first deck, and this deck felt good enough to get there. So, that's big. That's nice. Let's go. See you folks next round. Welcome to another round. Here, we're in tough shape because we don't actually have the ability to cast half of the spells in our deck. On the play, we really want to be proactive, and we've noticed that our deck gets much better with certain configurations of an opening hand. So even though I normally would keep this, I think, because I can cast a decent number of spells, I'm going to mulligan just because I want to experiment and see how much better a mulligan can look. And it looks okay. We're going to keep this and ditch 1 land. It still looks bad, don't get me wrong. I was hoping to have a hand that had a toxic creature in it, because the hands we've had with the opening hands with toxic creatures have looked so much better. But unfortunately, it does not look like we're going to be going in that direction. This card is really annoying against my mites, I must say. I'll play this guy. They might have a counter spell. That would be unfortunate. So yeah, my hand, the deck definitely doesn't perform well when you don't hit your certain toxic creatures. So when you're drafting it, prioritize those 2-drops. The rat, super important. The 2-drop with first strike, super important. I think Glider is a card you can pick up later, kind of like I was doing. Okay. They can use this for stuff. Perfect. I really needed that land. Huge. Okay, I can start getting toxic rolling soon. If they have a combat trick, they have a combat trick. I'm happy to let them use it. And then I'm going to hold up charge of the mites. Because my plan is to try and enable toxic next turn. And I can do that. It'd be interesting if they had a deproliferate mechanic. Just saying. But, so I can flash this in to make 2 mites, and then I can pay 4 to tap something, and then sacrifice this one that's been tapped to kill a second creature. And then enable toxic that way. Okay. So I'm going to make 2 1/1s. And then I'm going to actually kill this one with the Annihilating Glare so I can get it back with Vat of Emergence next turn and get a bunch of more guys. So then I'm going to tap that guy. Might seem weird to sacrifice that guy when I'm about to get stuff enabled for him. Hold back my Incisor Glider so their guys can't hit me for free toxic. I don't know if that's something their deck cares about, but maybe it is. Get a Sinew Dancer in. And now I just have to hope they can't kill my Incisor Glider. Because if they kill my Incisor Glider, I'm not in great shape. Because that thing's making all my guys scary. I probably don't have to worry, but still, this holds back essentially 2 damage for 1 damage. Seems worth it here. Sure, I'll just block a guy for free, essentially. Free in quotes. I don't really care about Toxic out of a blue-white deck. I mostly just didn't want to trade the damage badly. But they were willing to make the trade. Well, hopefully you understand now how that card's absolutely absurd. I haven't drawn my copy ever, but if I did draw my copy, that would be what it did. Super great. Super great to see that. You just love it. You just love to see that kind of thing. Oh my gosh. Imagine if I played my copy and just destroyed them. That would be really cool. My gosh, that was insane. I went from like can't possibly lose to can't possibly win unless I draw my own copy of it. Yep. I have one draw step. Gosh darn it. That's actually insane. Of course I don't draw it. My gosh. At least we got to see it played, because I wanted folks to see how good this card was, and it just so happened that I was the one that got completely eviscerated by it, and now I just lose, because they have 5 might that deal poison counters to me. So that's how it goes. But that's yep, I'm just gonna concede because I'm dead on board. Oh my gosh, that's insane. Oh, I never got to cast my cool rare. But yeah, you basically win the game if you cast that rare. So could have definitely easily gotten more than 3 wins with this deck. I feel like the losses were generally due to mana issues. I mean, I mulliganed that game as well, but mostly that last game was just them having that absurd rare. But yeah, let's do a little bit of a post-op on the deck. And as always, huge shout out to Wizards of the Coast for the free preview account to let me play in this event early so I can make this content for all of you. But post-op on the deck. First of all, we never cast White Sun's Twilight, but you got to see it in action, which I'm really actually very happy about. This card's insane, so definitely a good pull into white. We didn't get to cast this, but we did cast this. It was pretty good when we cast it, but it was not like insane in our deck because we didn't have enough like hard removal. This card pretty good. The Mira and Berdish did absolutely exactly what we wanted in one of our games. Feed the Infection was quite nice. Rib Skiff did a lot of work, like just felt like a huge problem. Charge of the Mites was really cool. I liked how versatile it was. The 1/1s on their own feel like a little bit worse. Like generally, I think you want to use this to kill your opponent's creatures, but you can use it to make the 1/1s if you have like some synergies, like Incisor Gliders or things like that. Raptor was amazing the one game we had it, even though we ended up flooding out that game. Centurion felt reasonable. And then the Duelist of Deep Faith and the Blightbelly Rats, those cards were absolutely essential to the success of our deck. When we had one of those on turn 2, we felt like kings of the world. And when we didn't have one on turn 2, it felt like very hard to get Corrupt enabled so our cards could be good. Incisor Glider with Corrupt, insane. We killed them on turn 5. Incisor Glider without Corrupt, not as insane. So definitely something to keep in mind. And then Anoint with Affliction was great every time. Offer Immortality did some great work. Glare was fine, and then Sinew Dancer, definitely, again, similar to the Incisor Glider, really good with Corrupt and not really good without it, so definitely something to keep in mind. The lands, the Fair Basilica really cost us a couple of times, but it was also really good a couple of times. I think maybe we could have limited how many we played, considering how many 1-drops and 2-drops our deck had, but it felt really pretty reasonable. I think usually having 3 tap lands might be too many, but 2 tap lands, so like no Terramorphic Expanse but the 2 fairs, or Terramorphic and 1 fair or whatever would have maybe been a better split. But yeah, that was the deck. If you made it all the way to the end of the video and the post-op, leave hashtag White Suns but not for me, or hashtag rares but not for me. So let me know you made it all the way to the end of the video, because pretty funny that our opponent cast the White Suns Twilight and we never saw it. But yeah, really funny. So hashtag White Suns but not for me to let me know you made it all the way to the end of the video. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe for more draft content, and comment below with your questions, thoughts, and feedback. And I will talk to you next time.